The Common Core state standards describe what students should know and be able to do at every grade level, K through 12, in order to be ready for college and career. They were created by teachers, educational experts from across the country, and have currently been adopted by 46 states.
I think the move to the Common Core is a critical first step to bringing about real and meaningful transformation to Perez School, the district, and I think our education system.
The Common Core state standards will redefine what students should know and be able to do at every grade level, really lifting the level of rigor and access to a rigorous curriculum for all students in every classroom and every school.
The new standards are more rigorous than the current standards that we've had. The Illinois standards were not aligned for college readiness, and these new standards are really more set to put their child on the even playing field with other students across the country.
We know Chicago as a district has a long way to go to make sure all of our students are college and career ready. But even today, among those students that do graduate, many of them don't graduate college and career ready, and those who go on to college aren't doing very well. In 2011, our 5-year graduation rate was 58%, and based on research from the consortium on Chicago School Research, we know that among CPS students that do start college, the 6-year graduation rate is about 45%. So there's a lot that we can do now based on the Common Core to make sure the high school experience is much more rigorous, to make sure that the K-12 experience is much more rigorous so that all of our students are graduating college and career ready.
Just using the Illinois standards the way we had in the past are very basic and minimum, and they're not going to prepare our students to successfully complete college.
I don't think it's fair to give parents or students very low standards and then say, you know, we're at 100% or we're at 90% if we know that the students then won't be prepared for the next level. So even though it seems like, you know, why, you know, is the bar raising, it's really where the bar should have been all along.
The Common Core literacy standards represent a much more cohesive and challenging vision for what it means to achieve higher levels of literacy. There are 3 key instructional shifts that make these standards truly different from what we have expected of our students in Illinois. First, we must ensure all students have regular practice with complex text in its academic language. We all know a key contributor to the achievement gap is the exposure to academic vocabulary at an early age. Building knowledge through content-rich nonfiction and informational material is also an essential shift that must occur in the classroom.
Build your classroom libraries. I mean, with Common Core, realistic fiction is great, but you gotta have a myriad of genres in your library, especially nonfiction. We gotta get kids into nonfiction, and a lot of Common Core requires us to read nonfiction with our children. A lot of what I read as an adult is nonfiction. So why are we in schools giving our children a lot of fiction when as adults we read a lot of nonfiction?
The third shift is about reading and writing grounded in text evidence. This is a crucial skill expected of critical thinkers to demonstrate ability to prove a point based on actual evidence.
Even with ISAT, students had to write narratives. But Common Core says no. Common Core demands our students to write arguments and think about what are those arguments based on? What reason would you have for making those arguments? What evidence are those reasons based on? And that's what students do on ACT. That's what we do in college when we write papers.
The goal of literacy instruction is to have all students become lifelong learners, readers, writers, speakers, and critical thinkers.
The math standards are different in a few ways. First is the standards for mathematical content. The key here is that they go much deeper in what students should know and be able to do at each grade level. Formerly, the Illinois standards were very broad, and in the nature of them being broad, teachers ended up jumping from topic to topic frequently and didn't have the opportunities to go much more deeply in the mathematics as they would in the Common Core. There are 2 sets of standards in the math standards. The content standards, which I just spoke about, and then there are the practice standards. They define, in essence, how students approach the mathematics, how they grapple with the mathematics, how they actually explore the mathematics to really solve and understand the problem situations. Some of the practice standards include constructing viable arguments, attending to precision, things of that nature.
And it really goes deep into not just performing mathematics, but actually understanding what's behind it. So everything becomes a question of why. Why does this work? No longer is it just the algorithm, but actually getting to having them understand why it works and how it works.
First of all, we worked on introducing the Common Core state standards across the entire system by working with the instructional leadership teams in every network across CPS. In addition to working with all school teams to introduce the Common Core, we also worked more intensively with 60 early adopter schools. Some are elementary, some are high school. And those schools got ahead of the rest of the district by beginning to create exemplars of unit plans and assessments that we could then use next year when we begin to implement the Common Core across the district.
We're getting ahead of the curve and we're trying to figure out how to meet the more rigorous standards so we're prepared for the more rigorous assessment that's going to follow it.
When I look at the Common Core, when I'm talking to parents, I'm basically telling them, listen, these Common Core standards are asking us to push our students almost a year ahead of where they're at. And that in that first year there was a very difficult transition, but it was doable. It just took a lot of planning and a lot of support for the teachers.
Next year we'll be focusing on literacy, kindergarten through 12th grade, and math, 6th through 12th grade. In the next year, we'll continue our focus on literacy, but we'll also shift to a focus on K-5 math. And by year 3, we'll be implementing the standards in both literacy and math, K-12. This creates an opportunity for Chicago Public Schools to actually implement a common curriculum aligned to those standards across the system. And when I talk about curriculum, I don't mean a common textbook across every school. I mean a roadmap for teachers so they know what to teach in each quarter of the school year as it pertains to the standards.
What Common Core means to me is organizing the curriculum into a way that makes sense to the students. It's an excellent source to set up so that you have a curriculum map, so that you have a road map to the skills and the strategies that you want to cover, and you're able to group them together so that it makes sense.
Ultimately, we want our teachers to have very clear guidance about what to teach in each grade level without constraining them to teach a particular way, using a particular instructional strategy or a particular type of text or textbook or set of instructional materials. We want to provide them the flexibility to make smart instructional decisions based on the needs of a particular group of students in their classroom.
It's a little difficult at first, and a lot of it is some trial and error. But once you understand what your students need, you'll be able to accommodate them, and they're going to get excited about learning.
Embrace the change. Embrace the change and trust that it's going to make students, it's going to make them better thinkers, better readers, better writers, better learners, and it's going to push the teachers themselves to be better teachers than they ever could be.